The fastest way to lose ground with a woman isn't cheating, yelling, or failing. It's asking one sentence. What's wrong? The moment you say it, you've already told her that you're beneath her. We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. Happy Monday, fellas. Hope you had a good weekend. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. Today, we're basically going to be talking about not climbing on your girl's emotional roller coaster. And stick with me because it may seem counterintuitive to everything that you've ever heard about women, but there is a method to my madness here, okay? Now, the moment a man asks, what's wrong? He has already admitted he feels beneath the situation. And what's really happening here, it's like your instinct to make the baby maker happy, right? Like it's the whole happy wife, happy life paradigm. You can't bear to see her in any kind of discomfort, and you got to fix it at all costs. And this sort of mindset that we have, that we're programmed with, causes us a lot of problems in marriage because women now know that all they have to do is sulk and pout and cry, and now they can manipulate you into doing anything that they want because you're going to do anything at all costs to make her happy, right? So you constantly asking her, hey, what's eating at you? What's bothering you? What's wrong with you? Eventually, she uses that to her advantage, okay? So we're going to stop doing that crap today because the thing is about women, we're going to get into it, right? As soon as she realizes that she can manipulate you, that she can get her way with you, everything goes to hell in a handbasket, okay? It's the start of the betatization process. It all starts with testing the man. And this is all just one big fun shish test. We're not at the 8-minute mark. I can't say bad words yet. By the way, guys, if you are new to the channel, do like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. So the question's not really concern. It's a request for emotional approval, right? And like I said before, it's all about you got to make the baby maker happy. We are wired fundamentally to make sure that the baby maker is comfortable, that the baby maker is safe, and that the baby maker is not upset in any way. It's just our evolutionary wiring as men and as providers and as protectors, right? So it's not that you're necessarily concerned, but you want to make sure that she's not mad at you, right? You're like, hey, what's going on, honey? What's going on? And it's really signals a lot of insecurity on your part. Well, the thing is that when women pull back, they pull back long before they ever feel like, explaining themselves. So by the time a woman feels cold, distant, or short with you, the decision to pull back has already happened internally. You know what I mean? Usually women don't just immediately shut down and start pulling away from you. You know what I mean? But over time, you keep doing this kind of stuff. Eventually, she's going to mentally check out completely from the relationship, and she's going to just be like, okay, it's always the same thing with this guy. It's always the same thing with this guy. She's going to lose respect for you and do that sort of thing, right? But like in the moment, it's not. It's kind of instinctive. And the thing is that women are really good at pattern recognition, and this is why women bring up old crap. Okay, she's not necessarily mad that you didn't take out the trash. Okay, and I also got to preface this section here of my notes. It's more about you've been having problems with her for a long time, right? Like in a new relationship, a woman might shut down, and depending on how you treat that early on in the relationship, will tell her whether shutting down is effective at manipulating you or not, right? So by the time she's doing this consistently, it's because you've trained her. Okay, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But women are also really good at pattern recognition, and that's why they bring up old crap. So she's not mad that you didn't take out the trash. To her, it's just the last thing on her long list of perceived issues. And then when you ask her, "Hey, well, what's wrong? What's bothering you?" It invites her to judge you instead of feel your masculine presence, right? So you're basically opening the door for her criticism. And then that, because most of you guys don't have like all the relationship skills that like we teach on the podcast, a lot of, especially you new guys, like new guys are finding the podcast because you're like, why won't my wife bang me, right? so you find yourself in this situation a lot. Well, when you say, hey, honey, what's bothering you? It opens the door for her criticism. And then when she finally says what's bothering her, because you can't stand her not feeling good, so you're just going to constantly poke at her, right? Until she gets it off her chest. Well, then when she finally does tell you what's bothering her, that's going to lead you into D.E.E.R.ing, defend, explain, excuse, rationalize why you did whatever it is that you did or didn't do that pissed her off. And then when you do that, it's just going to turn into one big subsequent fight. And this is why it's interesting. I see guys online talking about beefing with their wives. In fact, I just did a stitch yesterday where a guy was like sitting, he's sitting sadly outside in a chair on his front porch or something. I don't know, out front yard. And it says, why is my wife always beefing with me? Like, you're literally my only friend, bro. Like, whatever. And it's like, because of this shit, because of this right here. You can't stand her feeling upset. You ask her what's wrong. She criticizes you. And then that turns into D.E.E.R.ing, and D.E.E.R.ing turns into fights. Okay. Once you understand what's happening, like, you will never need to fight with your girl again. Once you work on your mental frame and you learn like the communication tactics that I teach in here, you'll never fight with her again. Never. Okay. So when she does open the door to criticism, most guys aren't aware of this, but instead of D.E.E.R.ing, if you start using what's called the LUCA model of communication, it's a much better solution there. If you guys have never heard of LUCA, it's an acronym that my good friend Paul Benjamin in the space came up with. Listen, understand, clarity, act, right? Or listen, understand, clarity, action. But it's a way of communicating with your wife from a position of leadership. It lets her get her feelings off her chest. You don't take it personally, and then you make her feel heard and understood. And when a woman feels heard and understood, that's when the legs open, right? But a lot of you guys have never even heard of LUCA. In fact, I've got guys in the wolf pack who have literally read the book, who literally tune into all the podcasts, and they always miss that part. And I say, hey, they got a problem with their wife, and I go, you could use LUCA in this circumstance. They're always like, well, what's LUCA? And I'm like, bro, 10 to 15 times. Okay. But until you've learned and practiced LUCA, it's better not to even ask. It's better not to even ask her what's wrong. Okay. And that's sort of what we're getting into today with the show. How many times have you asked what's wrong, thinking you were helping, and only watch her get colder after the fact? Let me know in the chat or in the comments. If you guys are watching Spotify, drop a comment, would you? I've been getting a lot more comments on Spotify lately, and I like it because most of my listeners are on Spotify or on Apple or whatever, but I don't know if you can leave comments on Apple. I don't have any Apple products because fuck Apple, but Spotify, if you guys are listening on Spotify, I can hear you. And I see your comments all the time. So men tend to talk when they feel like they're losing ground, and women feel losing interest when men talk too much. Isn't that funny? Isn't that kind of a paradox? So this is why we often talk about, the power of shutting the fuck up in the red pill space and just not saying anything. If once until you've really mastered some of these communication skills, sometimes it's better to just not say anything at all. It's kind of like when you're a kid and your mom says, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? Until you've learned, stuff like fogging, negative inquiry, negative assertion, LUCA, all that kind of stuff. It's best not to say anything. Okay. So what's wrong? What's wrong? You're innocent. What's wrong turns you into a therapist instead of a man that she responds to with her feminine nature. Okay. And we often say in the space too, you don't want to be your girl's emotional tampon. Okay. Which is really fascinating because if you ever read How to Be a 3% Man by Corey Wayne, which is a phenomenal book, but there's some things in there that I just don't agree with, like for instance, at the end of near the end of the book, in his relationship type advice, he does describe essentially what LUCA is, the LUCA model of communication. But what he does is he's talking about just nagging the shit out of his girl until she finally gets whatever's bothering her off her chest, right? He talks about throwing almonds at her and making, playfully saying, "Oh, what's eating at you though?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't care." And he's like, "Oh, Jimmy crack corn, whatever." Anyway, all the stuff that he's talking about is validation seeking behavior. If you're sitting there trying to constantly manage your girl's emotions like that, you are validation seeking. And you're doing it because of your wiring to not upset the baby maker. And you're actually putting yourself at a position lower than her, which is using her hypergamous nature against against you. And so you're not really doing anything good. It's terrible advice. Okay. And the more you ask, the more you keep prodding at her, the more you keep throwing almonds at her, like Corey Wayne says, right? The more she feels pressure and the less she feels desire. So the more you keep trying to pressure her to talk to you and communicate. I just need you to communicate. Communication is the most important thing in a relationship, right? You keep bugging her. Now she's feeling pressure. She's not feeling desire for you. You get me? Do you see where I'm going with all this stuff? By the way, guys, I keep talking about effective communication tactics, communicating from a position of leadership. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Yeah, hold on. Yeah, it's this one. Anyway, you're going to want to get this book to really understand what I'm talking about and get models and examples in real-time situations.
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom, now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
Indeed, indeed. Come on, show that. There we go. Fire. We are live today. Hell yeah. On Martin Luther King Day. Kamal says, how's your next book coming along? It's coming along slowly but surely. You know, I'm still working on the introduction. It's on track though. It'll be done by this summer. If you guys don't know, I'm working on my next book called Dick Her Down Right. It's going to be a book on sex and how to absolutely blow your woman's mind in the bedroom. I'm taking a lot of things that I learned from other, geniuses like Eric Everhart. There's some things that I learned, some tips that I picked up from a book that's really hard to get now called The Sex God Method. I think if you go on Amazon and try to buy The Sex God Method, it's like $4,000 or some shit, right? It's like, because these are out of print books and they taught me so much that Nurse Chick doesn't even realize I'm such a bad guy. She actually doesn't. She thinks I'm great, because when you dick a girl down right, she'll forget all your bullshit. Okay. So that should come out here in June. I'm shooting for June for that one, June or July. We'll see. The baby incubator, the baby is made inside the placenta, which is 100% father's DNA. Okay, bro. Yeah, you're don't spurg out on me, okay? Hey, Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, "Good morning, gentlemen." Nurse Chick always gets this.
I'm so naughty.
Yep.
I'm gonna come.
I will.
That must be ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, guys. Absolutely ridiculous. Let's see here. Half the mitochondria. Okay, you guys are really nerding out. Okay, you guys are missing that point here. All the Spotify comments are probably from David. Well, you know what? They were. David was like the only guy commenting, and he would comment on every single episode. But now I'm getting actually quite a bit of comments. Hey, Darfin is in the house. Happy Monday. Smashing like is alpha. That is true. Oh, and Erkin's in the house. Hey, what's up, brother? Good to see you here. All right, let's move on here. We don't care about these women's feelings. That's what we're talking about today. So let's see here. So the question, what's wrong? What you're doing is you're putting her emotions above your mission, and that always changes the dynamic. Anytime you put your woman first, it kills her attraction for you. She doesn't want to be the center of your world. She wants to join your lifestyle, right? So you always have to be mission focused, okay? I want you guys to think of James Bond in this situation, right? What would James Bond do? Which, I mentioned Corey Wayne. That's something he constantly asks in 3% Man. What would James Bond do? James Bond, he never puts a woman's feelings above the mission, does he? It's always mission first, man. It's always mission first. Woman, if he has time. He does tend to make a lot of time for slaying that poon, though, doesn't he? But he's not constantly worrying about a woman's feelings, is he? He's not like, oh, I better not go and save the world today because her feels are bad. He's like, suck it up. I've got a mission to go to, right? Or he'll just walks up and she's all sad and pouty and he just makes out with her and walks out. He doesn't say a goddamn thing. Okay. Be more like James Bond. One of the things, so I talked about D.E.E.R.ing, right? And when you ask that question, what's wrong? It invites her to criticize you, and that criticism usually turns into D.E.E.R.ing for most guys. Women, they don't really gain interest in guys. They're definitely not attracted through your explanations. Okay, they respond to a guy who has certainty, a guy who has direction, a guy who's assertive, a guy who's decisive. You know what I mean? He doesn't like explanations or excuses. Okay. It's kind of like, have you ever seen the movie The Rock? You ever seen the movie The Rock? Not The Rock, like WWE The Rock, but before the WWE The Rock, there was the movie The Rock about, the Alcatraz and Navy SEALs and the Marines taking over and stuff. And there's a scene in there where the bad guy general, his people come and they got all these problems. He goes, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Okay. Your girl's kind of like that. Okay. So when you're D.E.E.R.ing, you're essentially bringing your girl more problems to deal with. And that actually just puts you at a lower position than her. So if you are the leader of the relationship, you don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. Right. And silence backed by self-control, it's way stronger than any emotional conversation. if you ever read another Holy Trinity book that I recommend is Atomic Attraction by Christopher Canwell, right? One of the things that he always talks to is how women respond to strength, right? And so you often hear me on the podcast say that women are security-seeking creatures that respond to strength. It's a very simplistic way to look at women, but it's a really good framework to be mindful of when you're interacting with women, because it's something easy to think about. Okay. And so one of the things that I learned from Canwell, and applied it, and it does seem to really work well, is to realize that women respond to strength. So typically taking the strongest action is always the best action when dealing with women. And sometimes the strongest action is just not saying anything at all, right? Let her feel however she's going to feel. And when she's ready to talk to you like an adult, she can come find you, right? That's the strongest action you could take in that sort of situation. By the way, if you guys are getting value from any of these episodes, do consider sending a super chat, would you? And this is really frame, right? We're really talking about having solid mental frame and not allowing her emotions to sway us. And when a man can stay unmoved, her emotions have nowhere to hook. And with no hook, there's no emotional manipulation. And with no manipulation, there's higher attraction. Because women don't want to win. All right. That's the fundamental thing that a lot of guys just don't understand, because they think they do. We've got a lot of competitive women out here. We've got a whole, generation or several generations now of feminists, of women who think they need to compete with men on a constant basis. And that carries over to the relationships where women just have a hard time getting out of their masculine. But when you have several generations of nice guys who have this happy wife, happy life paradigm, and you got to make the baby maker happy at all costs, then these women have no choice but to stay in their masculine. And then that causes an attraction problem, right? Because they have a bunch of feminized men. Okay. So the thing is that they will test you, but they don't really want to win. They need to know that they cannot manipulate you, because if they can manipulate you, that means the world can manipulate you, and then you are not the strong leader that they need in the relationship, and then they feel less secure in the relationship, less safe and secure in the relationship, right? So like I said, women are security-seeking creatures that respond to strength. Okay, well, that strength is what tends to make them feel safe and secure, because they know that the world can't get their way with you. Okay, this is all, a lot of this is subconscious. This is all just feminine programming. They don't even realize that they're doing this stuff. So you can't get mad at women for doing this kind of stuff, right? So you got to understand that women don't want to win. And so if I'm going to say this again, just for your notes, right? When a man stays unmoved, her emotions have nowhere to hook. With no hook, there's no emotional manipulation. With no manipulation, she has higher attraction, because women don't want to win. Okay. The thing is that when you're trying to fix her mood by asking her what's wrong, right? Hey, what's wrong, honey? What's wrong? No, tell me about it. Get it off your chest. It tells her that her mood is affecting you, right? She's like, oh, he's impacted by my mood. And because you're affected by it, now she knows, at least on a subconscious level, that she can manipulate you. And that is the fastest way to lose her respect. And a woman can't love a man if she doesn't respect him. Okay? You see how this tends to work together? By the way, guys, a good place to swap notes about this sort of thing, especially if you're working on it, you're reading the books, you're doing the workbooks and stuff like that, but you still have a lot of questions. Get in the Wolf Pack. We have a whole bunch of guys in there that are all working on this stuff, swapping notes. If you got a problem, you don't know how to deal with it, it's the perfect place to drop your questions. Bear Club? Not anymore.
Fix what's broken. You lead like a man again. No pity, no therapy. Just fire, just flame. Cold bed, broken home, midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
You know, based on some of the comments I get on Spotify about that song, I think some of you guys just tune in on Monday mornings just for that song, just to get that pump in the morning. They're like, "Oh, hell yeah, too sweet, brother." And then they they get juiced up for the day. Hell yeah, man. All right. Let's talk about so emotional interrogation teaches her that withdrawal controls you. And so that what we've been alluding to this whole time, right, is that you being overly concerned about her emotions now teaches her that she can manipulate you. So the thing is that when you do it, the more you walk on eggshells, the more you tiptoe around her feelings, it's negative operant conditioning. Okay. You're actually rewarding bad behavior. It's kind of like when a toddler throws a fit in a tantrum when they're like 2, they start throwing their fits and tantrums. If you give into that when they're little, it teaches them that they can control you, right? You're right, that your kids are literally training you, right? This is, if you ever see, God, do you remember those, like, you know, Nanny 911 or Rescue Nanny or what? I don't know, those shows from like the early 2000s where they would have these nannies come in and teach moms discipline because like moms just couldn't say no to their goddamn kids, and they had like these hellion children. It's that sort of thing, right? We had a brother in Wolfpack who, when he first joined the group, I would say this was a situation that he was dealing with. His wife was constantly putting their son to sleep, and she would end up sleeping in the son's room because, you know, she was like, "This is the only way I can get him calmed down is if I stay in the room with him." And the brothers, the Wolfpack, were like, "You need to say no, let me handle it, and then go use your dad voice and shit, and go and put the kid down and say you're gonna stay in bed because I'm gonna fuck your mom tonight." Right? You don't say that to the kid. You guys, like, I shouldn't have to explain this to you guys, but there's artards on the internet. But we said, go use your dad voice, you know, take control and just put your son down, and your son will eventually stay in his room more. And so he did that, completely changed the dynamic of the situation. His wife was like, she didn't like it at first because mom's like, they you know, "Oh, my babies," and "Oh, dad's being mean," and they're using the mean dad voice and shit, right? But mean dad voice gets shit done. And that's why kids need their fathers. And then he went back, you know, after the son went to bed, he went into the room and fucked his wife to sleep, because that's how you get shit done, right? But that's the thing. It's when it comes to your wife, it ends up being negative operant conditioning. And I say it on the podcast a lot. I talk about it in Get Her to Fuck You Again. I really talk about it in Keep Your Bitch, though. Hold on. I have a stack of books over here. In Keep Your Bitch, I really talk about how you can train women like you can train dogs. Okay. This is how you keep your long-term relationship going, right? Is operant conditioning. A lot of you guys are using operant conditioning with your girl, but in the wrong direction. You're teaching her that her bad behavior gets rewarded with your time and attention. Okay. So when she sulks and withdraws and shuts down, and she knows that you're going to come chase her and try to fix her feelings, now she uses that to her advantage to manipulate you. Okay. And then the more she can manipulate you, the more that attraction erodes. So when her moods no longer move you, right, is the less you're impacted by her moods, you're just like, hey, whatever, let her feel however she's going to feel. It stops escalating the problem. It starts changing that dynamic around to your favor, right? And the thing is that men fear silence because they may mistake her attempt at control for connection, right? You've been taught this whole time that communication is the key to a healthy relationship. In fact, I just saw a podcaster that I like. I like, you know, I think she's got good material. I was on her show. She's been on my show. But I just saw a clip on Instagram where she's talking about how communication is the key to a healthy relationship. And I was just like, I want to comment so much, but I've already told her. That's bullshit. Men and women communicate completely differently, right? Now, communication is the key to conflict resolution, but it's not the key to a healthy relationship. So I won't go there anymore. But you, as a blue-pilled man, are taught that trying to communicate with her is the key to connection and, you know, intimacy. And so you will chase her around and try to manage her feelings when she's not feeling well. And it's really that happy wife, happy life paradigm. But the thing is, the more that you chase her down to try to fix her feelings, the more she runs away, right? Because women are like cats. The more you chase a cat, it'll run away. But two, she realizes that you're rewarding her bad behavior, so she's going to do it more. You see where I'm going with this, guys? There's a method to my madness. This is going to be a really short episode today. I think we just passed the 30-minute mark, and I only have like a couple more show notes left. So it's going to be a short episode, but you know, it's a holiday and some of you guys have the day off. So we'll end things a little bit earlier today. That's fine. By the way, guys, follow me on social media, would you? The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. You know, I just, it's funny. So I'm really focusing on marketing my books, and I'm really going hard right now on Get Her to Fuck You Again. And today is, you know, today's Monday. Mondays are typically dead bedroom Mondays, right? We typically are talking to guys about relationship related content on Mondays. And so I'm just bringing this up now, but I don't have it in the description there. And I don't necessarily think you guys need to follow it. But one of the things that in my research as far as creating volume for book sales is that TikTok is the place to sell books. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I should go hard on selling books on TikTok. But one of or actually a couple of these bigger book channels where there's these like 7-figure KDP, you know, independent authors and stuff. They're talking about what to do. They're like, you got to have a separate TikTok account for each book and just post, like, the only content is that book's content. That way it teaches the algorithm that this is your niche. Your niche is your book, right? Your niche is your book. And I was like, okay, fine. So yesterday, I created a new TikTok account called, God, what is it? It's called Fix Dead Bed, I think. Fix Dead Bed, at Fix Dead Bed. It's all just on Get Her to F You Again stuff. So you guys can follow it if you want, but just know that if you see that account floating out there in the TikTok ether, that's me. I'm running that. It's not a bot account. Well, I mean, it's not I should say a pirate account, right? Like where someone's made up an account and tried to impersonate me. It's actually one of my things. All right. Enough about that nonsense. You guys are like, we don't care, Paul. We already bought the book. We don't fucking care. Anyway, so the real tension, okay, you guys, I want you guys to think about this way, right? The real tension in this situation, the negative tension, it's not necessarily her pulling back or the distance. It's your need to resolve it. That's what's making you feel that urge, that negative tension to resolve her feelings. But once you realize that she doesn't want you, like if she doesn't want to win, she doesn't want you climbing on her emotional roller coaster. Once you realize it's not your job to fix her feelings, it's pretty freeing. And actually, it feels pretty good to realize, oh, I don't have to own her emotions. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to have a good day then. Right? But that you'll stop feeling that negative tension to want to go and fix her problem. Once you accept that and you realize it's not your job to fix her problems and she doesn't want you climbing on her emotional roller coaster, it's such a freeing feeling. You know, it's really a freeing feeling to realize that you don't have to solve problems. It's the same thing when you're talking to her and she's venting to you about her day and like all the negative shit in her day. And you have the urge to tell her how to fix all of her problems because you're a problem solver, because men don't just emote. We actually solve problems. That's what men do. Women just talk. They don't solve shit. Right. Well, once you realize that she doesn't want you to solve her problems, it's so freeing then all you gotta goes, huh, how'd that make you feel? Oh, I can see why you feel that way. Yeah, that's terrible. I told you that bitch crazy, right? And then you don't have to do anything. And then she feels like, oh, he really gets me. I feel heard and understood. And that's when the legs open, guys. This is what this is what it's all about. So if you're in a situation where your relationship's been going downhill for a long time and you're trying to turn things around, you got to know that attraction really starts to return when you stop reacting to her crap like this and you start remaining solid. This is mental frame. Okay, that's mental frame where you don't let whatever she's doing impact your decisions or your moods or your feelings or your mission, right? She has no influence on this at all. You are the immovable oak, right? You are the rocks of Gibraltar, and her emotions are the waves crashing on you. Okay. That's mental frame. That's why I have a dedicated episode every Friday to frame, because it's the most important thing in your relationship, but it's usually the videos that get the least amount of views. I say it every week. I really want you guys to tune in on Frame Fridays, but all you guys are like, I just want to get laid though. I don't want to work on my mindset. The thing is that when you work on your mindset, everything else falls into place, including getting laid more. Okay. Oh man. Yeah, this is a short ass episode today, guys. Super short. But at least we made it over the 30-minute mark. Hold on. We got a question here. Let's see here. So is LUCA not the same as asking what's wrong? Well, it's not necessarily, because LUCA can be used in lots of different communication situations, right? I mean, the acronym is listen, understand, clarity, action, but it doesn't necessarily mean you ask her what's wrong. Like, she could literally just come to you with a problem that's not necessarily like, upsetting her, causing her to shut down. It's just something that something that needs to get resolved, like taking the kids to school this Sunday, but my mom's got a doctor's appointment. Like, how do we handle this, honey? Right? She's coming to you as the authority figure. You're going to want to listen to her. Like, so what's the problem? Right? What's the problem? Oh, we've got these two situations. Okay. Well, do I understand that right? Well, let's come up with a plan. Like, okay, here's the calendar. Here's the time frame. I got this car. You got this car. Why don't you take your mom? I'll take the kids. Right? That's coming up with an action. That's LUCA, where it's not really asking what's wrong. Does that make sense? There's lots of different situations you can use LUCA. So that's frame. So basically we're talking about working on our mental frame by not constantly asking her what's wrong. Okay. You got to understand, the man who never asks what's wrong is the man that she really starts watching again, because when she wants that validation and you're not just giving it to her because of her moods, she's going to process her emotions herself. She's going to come to a realization that you are the strong, immovable oak, and she's going to come and chase you down for your validation and attention. You see how that works? Okay. But I really need to end this episode with the don't eat paint warning, as Ryan Stone, the legendary Ryan Stone, would say. Don't eat paint, okay? It's not that you can never ask her what's wrong, okay? But don't own her emotions about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay? If you're going to do it at all, you need to be mindful of the tools to handle the situation from a position of leadership. Okay. So I want you guys to remember, never D.E.E.R., always LUCA. Never D.E.E.R., always LUCA. Okay. And really get the book if you really want to go into depth on this sort of thing. And also, here's the thing. This is how I would do it. Okay. If Nurse Chick was really sulking, which she doesn't really do, she doesn't talk very much though, so I'm just kind of used to it. But let's say I can really tell that something's eating at her. Like, I can just tell. I can see it on her face. She's really worn down. I might come up to her and say, hey, babe, what's the matter? What's eating at you? Right? And if she's like, nothing, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, cool. That's how I'd handle it, right? Okay, cool. Well, I'll be over here if you change your mind. And then don't own that shit. Okay? That's how you handle that situation, and let her come to you. Okay. You're, as the leader of the relationship, let her seek you out. Okay. You have an open door policy. She can come talk to you, whatever you want, but don't be chasing her down. The CEO of a major corporation is not chasing down his employees, asking them what's wrong all the fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have the same mentality in your relationship. And that's really the takeaway I want you guys to go home with. Not that you can never ask her, but don't make it your whole priority. Don't be walking on eggshells about it. Let her own her own emotions. You don't own them. Okay. All right, cool. All right. We made it to the 40-minute mark. I fucking ran my mouth. I'll tell you what, just inside baseball. When I first started the podcast years ago, I only wanted to do like 30-minute episodes. I didn't want, because people's internet attention span is typically really low. And so I was like, I don't want to do anything longer than 30 minutes. And then my friend, one of my 3% brothers, this guy named Guy, he lives out in Israel. He loves extended podcasts, like, Joe Rogan, 4 or 5 hours, Rollo Tomasi, 4 or 5 hour long podcasts. He eats that shit up. Right. And he's like, oh, you got to go longer, bro. Like, go. And I'm like, I'm not doing 4-hour fucking podcasts. Right. But what I did find is that typically I would always go mostly an hour for most podcasts. I would go for a full hour. And so I ended up saying to myself a long time ago, as long as the episode breaks the 30-minute mark, we did okay. Every once in a while we have shorter episodes, not so much though. Let's see here. Yeah. Oh, I was just looking at what Kamal says. LUCA is used only when your woman communicates her problem without throwing a fit. Yeah. You don't want to reward. Well, I mean, I'll tell you what, if she's really pissed off, you can still use LUCA though, Kamal. She's not necessarily throwing a fit. I guess what you're saying though, is if she's throwing a tantrum in a fit, you don't want to reward that behavior by talking it out with her. Right. So you can say, hey, when you calm down, we can talk like adults, and then I'm going to bounce. I'm going to bounce. I'm not talking with you when you're like this. I think that's what Kamal's saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, brother. Correct me if I'm wrong. Kamal's he's an OG. He's an old OG 3% brother, but he's also in the wolf pack. If you guys ever are in the wolf pack, like, Kamal drops some real gems in there quite a bit. All right, guys, that's all I have for this episode. Tune into the podcast on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about guys who just can't seem to stop texting their ex. Okay. So for any of you guys who have recently gone through a breakup and you're fighting that urge, be sure to tune into the podcast on Wednesday. But that's all I got, guys. I will let you guys get out of here early. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications if you haven't done so already. Otherwise, we will see you guys on Wednesday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.